Alright, so here's a quick video on the rocket silo test that I was constructing. Okay, so the way this works is you have 3 rocket silo lanes, and what we're actually testing is the different strategies for configuring these lanes with their little expansion packs. Okay, 3 different strategies. Lane 1 is testing nothing but speed all across the board. Lane 3 is doing mostly speed, but one productivity module. And what the productivity module does really quickly is you'll notice that as I take it in and out of this box, I get an extra progress bar down here. Okay, the way that the rocket system works is every time we fill up this bar, it generates a rocket part. The rocket part automatically goes into itself and creates the rocket towards the rocket progress. So every time this fills up, we get 1%. When it gets to 100%, it makes the rocket. I have the rocket set to auto launch so that the moment that it's done finishing itself, it automatically launches without any kind of delay. So this strategy here is maximizing on the speed, but then also getting this extra progress bar so that it hopefully creates more of this than the pure speed strategy, which does not have the extra bar. And then lane 2 is the balanced approach of what happens if you have 2 productivity bars, which affects that, but then you also have 2 speed bars that still kind of speed up the other process. So pure speed, balanced, or min-max productivity. Okay. Very quickly on the lanes themselves, each lane self-monitors, right? That's what these green lights are for. This means that as far as the rocket control units, the low density structures, and the rocket fuel that this thing needs to create one batch of these, that there's enough in the buffer to at least keep a healthy amount of flow going through this. It self-reports all of this information up and down the chain to the central control area over here, and certain pieces of information are shared across everybody, so that, for instance, if lane 3 wins the race, then everybody else should stop what they're doing. So there's stuff like that going on between the different networks to keep it copacetic. Finally, the central processing area allows me to just control things like these 3 lights are making sure that I have enough backup material in the buffer over here, right? Because as this entire experiment takes something like 2,500 materials to run its course, and obviously one set of boxes is not in worth of stuff, which is only like 480. That is not nearly enough to live out the entire thing. So these little helper robots are going to be constantly filling these boxes from this giant buffer over here, and these lights are configured to look at that buffer and see that we have enough to survive. So for instance, I hover over this, you notice I get the little tooltip over there, and that network is detecting that I have 4.1k of the structures, 3.6k of the rocket fuel, and 3.4k of the rocket control modules, and that info icon at the end is what I have my buffer set to, which is 3000. So since all of those are above 3000, I get green lights across the board, and the overall experiment is ready to launch. Now the only thing that is stopping this from happening is the fact that all of these robotic arms are turned off, right? So when I say ready, set, go, I would want to have to sit here and try to click on each one of these individually, and so there is a master switch up here that's going to send this checkmark signal down through the system, and that's what these arms are all waiting for to kick the process off. So before we get started, any guesses as to which one do you think will win? Is it a pure speed approach, a balanced approach, or the productivity just to get the bar going and then otherwise maximizing it on speed? Let's see who wins in 3, 2, 1. Elon Musk. So there we go, nice and scientific, right? Nice fair start. All the arms automatically activated. The robots are constantly moving parts into the various boxes, and as we look into the production of one of them, you'll notice that this buffer, you're never waiting on anything. right? So this thing is working as fast as it possibly can, and here you have an example of how as that progress bar filled, you actually got an extra percentage point for free because we do have that extra productivity bar going. Okay? So let's see who wins. Now the last thing to point out is that when you cannot monitor the rocket silo by itself, it doesn't let you do that. You can't connect a wire to it. So the only way that you can infer that this thing is completed is by waiting for the space juice, that is what you get for sending a rocket into space, to come back into here and get harvested into this empty box right here. Now, that entire process is like a 20-second animation, okay? And so technically, in the 20 seconds that one of these things crosses the finish line, the other two will get extra processing time while the animation is going off before they will stop. But it's as close as we can get to a nice scientific study, and it still will give you a relative comparison for how much faster one of these things is to the others. And here we go, we've got our sound. Who won? Oh! Lane 1. Lane 1, pure speed, so no productivity bar whatsoever. And pure speed managed to eke it out. But, not to be undone, Lane 3 was closing up. See, there you go, there's the space juice. And finally, cool. See, so what actually happened there is that the min-max strategy of 3 speed plus 1 productivity was close enough in percentage that while that unavoidable animation was going off, it actually had enough time to finish processing the last couple of percentage that it needed to launch its rocket. And so that's why we technically have 2 winners in this race, even though it's clear that speed was the one that won. So the speed won by a margin of whatever that is, 10, 12, 15 seconds for the rocket to launch. And the loser was the balanced approach, which still got pretty close. Look at that, it got to 94%. Now again, remember, that got an extra 12 seconds of processing too, so maybe that's more like 89% or something like that, but really not that different. But still, if you're min-maxing and you're trying to get as many rockets to fire on a regular basis, pretty cool to know that what you actually want to do is maximize speed. And I know that you can come in here with beacons and start to enhance the speed even further, and maybe that changes a little bit, so maybe I'll redo this experiment to where what happens if I take a min-max approach like this, but then I crank out a bunch more speed around it, who knows. But unmodded, rocket silos, pure speed is king, and also this was a way for me to learn how to do all this logic bullshit that is driving everything that you see here. So if you have any questions about how any of this stuff works, I will be happy to answer it. And thanks for watching.